Welcome to the course, The Choice to Be Happy. I am Henrique Bueno. I am the CEO and founder of Wholebeing Institute in Brazil. And for the past several years, after living a long career as a legal executive in major companies, I have dedicated myself to the study of the conditions that make life worth living. I have an MSc degree in positive psychology from the University of East London and a lot of experience working with organization and human development and training. I am also a happy husband, father of 3 beautiful boys that in my case makes all up for the ups and downs of life. For the next few weeks, we will embark together on a journey to explore evidence-based practice and activities designed to elevate the 5 dimensions of well-being in your life: the spiritual, physical, intellectual, relational, and emotional. I am so happy to be at your side in this journey. If you have watched the masterclass from this course, you realize by now that I love to ask questions. So let me ask you an important one just for us to get warm up. How much do you think the environment, the place you live and work, for instance, contributes to your happiness? If you are like most people, you probably have thought a very big number sometimes, like 60, 70, 90, or even 100%. Some of my students even joke and bring numbers above the 100% threshold. Yes, most of us believe that the environment plays a fundamental role in our happiness and well-being. But there is a problem here, one that we briefly covered in the talk we did in the masterclass. We humans get used to things, and people for that matter. We are very adaptable, and through a process called hedonic adaptation, things that played a major impact in our well-being, for the good or for the bad, lose their hold on us over time. I shall tell you my story now. When I was working in a major company as an executive in the legal department, I used to tell all of my friends that now, at that time, because I was young and I had so much energy, I would work a lot. And one day I would get a lot of money, I would buy a ranch, and then I would be happy. And I did that. After a while, after a long time working for big organizations, I decided to quit my job. I went through a major transition in my life. And I ended up buying a ranch in a small town in Brazil, actually in the middle of the rainforest, a beautiful place. And I remember at that time, I went to talk to the owner of a store that sells products to build houses. And I was trying to negotiate a way to pay for my bills. And this guy, the owner of the place, called Gerson, I do remember his name, he told me, "Oh, that's so nice. You just bought a farm. You bought a ranch. This ranch or this farm will give you 2 pleasures, 2 joys. One now, because you bought it, and the next one on the day you sell it." For a long time, I was trying to understand what he was thinking, because I knew that I had finally got there. I finally had realized my dream of living in a rainforest, of living in a place of quietude, of peace. But after a few weeks, I had realized that he was right. At the beginning, I just saw the birds, the music of the birds, the smell of the trees, the wind on the trees. But after a while, all the trouble of holding and maintaining a ranch started to add up. And everything that was beautiful and perfect at the beginning started to bring inconveniences, as life always do. So we do think that we are going to reach some point where we're going to be happy, but then we get used to things and people, and we go back to a usual set point. We always think, that major changes, such as the one I live, will change it all. But after a short while, we all go back to a regular set point. You can probably relate that experience to your own life, and I will ask you to journal about this after this session. How much did you adapt, for instance, with your partner after the days of heated passion went away? Or your job, your house, your car? The environment, therefore, does play a role, of course, but not as big as we may think. A parenthesis here. This impact may be considerably higher in drastic conditions. A child, for example, that lives in a war zone, or a family that suffers from domestic violence, for example, will surely be much more impacted by the negative conditions of the environment. But in normal conditions, despite playing a role, the environment does not make us happy. At least not for long. Again, we get used to things. So what are the other factors identified by research that affect our happiness levels and well-being? A research organized by Dr. Sonia Lyubomirsky illustrates that happiness is actually the consequence of three components: our circumstances, or the environment we're in, our set point, which can be understood as our genetic predisposition, and our choices and actions. Dr. Lyubomirsky even tried to demonstrate what is the percentage of the impact of which of these components, but hard numbers like that are difficult to be proven in human science, such as positive psychology. Despite the numbers, however, the important takeaway from this understanding is that even though our circumstances or our environment impacts our well-being, it does a lot less than we think. For again, we tend to adapt to it. And truth be told, many times we don't have too much room to radically change those circumstances. So it's not very smart to postpone your chances of a happier life only when these major changes occur. Yes, our genetics impact our happiness level. Some of us are more introverted and somber, while others seem to be happy and positive all the time. Regardless of the percentage of this impact, again, it is not a great plan to wait for genetic change to find the happiness you deserve. What we tend to ignore, however, is how much our choices and actions impact our well-being and happiness. What do you do during lunch, eating a cold sandwich while you're playing Candy Crush alone, complaining about the previous morning meetings, or going out for half an hour with friends to eat a nice lunch in the parks, impacts your relationship with your afternoon and your happiness level thereafter. Try that and reflect upon it for a while. Do you know why we usually ignore that important factor? Because biologically, we cannot really grasp the relationship between cause and effect over longer periods. We still carry the genetics of our ancestors, which major drive was to survive day-to-day challenges, not really perceiving causal relationships over a longer period of time. To make things more practical, if we get a big raise or win the lottery, we know instantly the effect that this recent prize had on our well-being. We perceive easily enough the effects of major events, falling in love, or wedding, or first child, in our happiness levels, but we tend to ignore the effects of small and constant factors. Because of this biological technicality, we usually dream about major changes and keep on postponing our happiness to major events in the future. This is a problem for two reasons. First, those events do not happen all the time. And second, even when they do, we tend to adapt to them sooner than later. Remember, by hedonic adaptation. To live a happier life, at least the part that is in your own hands means to choose and act with intention every day. As poet Annie Dillard said, the way you pass your day is the way you live your life. Remember that sentence, write it in your mirror and read it every day until it sticks. Small choices and actions like choosing wisely what you eat, walking a few thousand steps every day, or being kind to your neighbors, and being present for your family, or even breathing deeply a few times a day, play a major role in your happiness levels over time, more so if you do it consistently. Again, the problem is that on a daily basis, these small choices and actions may seem unimportant, impacting your happiness levels only 1, maybe 2%. But a 1% change in direction today, if you keep it continuously, will take you to a whole new destination. To live a happy life is not about getting somewhere and expecting it to solve all your problems. It's about making better choices and acting on it every day. Really acting, because we know from research that it is not enough just to reflect about what would make you happy. You gotta act on it. Does that make sense to you? For the next 5 weeks, we will be together exploring the science of happiness through the lenses of the Inspire module of whole person well-being. Each week, I will introduce you to one of the 5 dimensions of whole person well-being: the spiritual, physical, intellectual, relational, and emotional dimensions. And we will learn and practice evidence-based interventions designed to elevate those same dimensions in your life. In this 5 weeks journey, I will deconstruct some of the major myths that gets in the way of achieving happiness and well-being. I will demonstrate the negativity bias and the power of perspective for overall happiness and well-being. I will present evidence-based tools and activities designed to leverage positivity, resilience, and well-being. I will connect the 5 dimensions of whole person well-being: the spiritual again, physical, intellectual, relational, and emotional dimensions as the pillars of the good life. By the end of this journey, you will learn how to mindfully appreciate day-to-day life and to create meaning and purpose of every experience. Engage mind and body in an embodied experience of physical, emotional, and mental well-being. Change a fixed mindset to more curiosity and openness for a full experience of lifelong learning. You will build better and more authentic relationships with yourself and with others. You will practice self-compassion and positivity towards a more resilient and happy life. I am so very happy that you've decided to embark on this journey with me.